Hello and welcome back, dear students. Wish you all stay happy, healthy, and safe at home, and do your studies regularly and properly. I am Yojana Parak, and today we are going to see a chapter for Standard 10 students from your English textbook. The name of this book is First Fight, that is your main textbook. From this book, we are going to see chapter number 10, that is the sermon at Banaras. Now, who gave this sermon? Gautam Buddha. Why at Banaras? Because the Banaras is situated near at the bank of holy river Ganga. So, here in this chapter, we are going to see the sermon, the preaching given by Gautam Buddha. What was his first sermon and what was it about? That we are going to see in this chapter. How, where, and when, why he gave that sermon and to whom. So, chapter number 10, Sermon at Banaras, that we are going to see. We have already done one part about this chapter. Now we are going to move to the second part of this chapter. Before moving, let us quickly revise it what we saw in the previous chapter, that Gautam Buddha got birth in 563 BC and died in 483 BC. His name was Siddhartha Gautam. He was a prince and he born in Nepal, in North India. At the age of 12 years, he was sent for the schooling to study the holy scriptures of Hindu religion. And after 4 years, he came back. About the age of 16 years, he got married to Yashodhara, and then he had a son, Rahul. For 10 years, he lived the royal life. He was a married man. And then, about the age of 25, he was wandering in his kingdom, and there he saw 4 incidents that moved him. What were the 4 incidents? That a sick man and an aged man, then a funeral procession, and then he saw a monk begging for alms. This 4 incident moved him completely, and he wanted to know why the people of my kingdom are in sorrow, why the people of the whole world are in sorrow. What is the reason for this sorrow? What is the source of the sorrow, and how I can provide them the real happiness. What is the real happiness? What is the real knowledge? He wanted to get the spiritual knowledge, the universal truth, or you can say the universal happiness. So he was completely shocked because he never saw or he never felt sad or sorrow, because he used to live the life in palace. He was a prince and he was completely happy. When he saw the sorrow of people, he wanted to find the real happiness, and for that he left the home at the age of 25 or 26 and went in the world to seek enlightenment, to seek the real knowledge. He wandered for 7 years and finally sat down under a peepal tree, and there he stayed for 7 days. He vowed that he will stay under that tree until he get enlightenment, until he get the real knowledge. So after 7 days he got that enlightenment, he got that real knowledge, and then after he named that peepal tree as Buddhi tree, and people used to call him Buddha. Why? Because he had the spiritual knowledge. And from there he started preaching of what he learned about that real knowledge, and he started sharing his knowledge with people. So from there he started his preaching about real knowledge. Here you can see this 4 incident. Here you can see the image of sick man, and then here you can see the image of funeral. Here there is an old man and monk asking for alms, for charity. Now finally, when Buddha got the enlightenment, then he started preaching the people the sermon of the life, the sermon of this universe, the real knowledge of this universe, the real truth, the real happiness. He started preaching to the people. He started sharing his knowledge with the people. And then the first sermon he gave at the bank of river Ganga in Banaras. That Ganga is known as the holy river because it is the belief of people that if you take bath in river Ganga, all the sins of yours will be washed in that, because that river is very pure. So at the bank of that pure river, the holy river Ganga, he gave his first sermon. That sermon is still preserved in books which he gave for the first time in Banaras. Now what this sermon was about? That sermon reflects Buddha's wisdom about one inscrutable kind of suffering. That suffering which we cannot understand, but it will be in our life and we cannot avoid it. Now how that incident came and how he gave that sermon, that incident is explained here. That there was a lady, Kesa Gotami was her name. She had a son, and that son, the only son, young one, he was very young and he died in young age. And in her grief, she carried that dead body and she went in the neighborhood asking for medicine because she could not believe that he has died, and she was thinking that he has just gone faint and he is suffering from some kind of illness, so I just need medicine that will cure him and he will wake up again. So she went carrying her child in her arms. She went in her neighborhood asking for medicine, but everyone thought that she has gone mad because she is carrying a dead body. She is carrying a dead body and she is asking for medicine for this dead body to be cured. But it is impossible. Dead body can be alive. So finally she met a man who said that I cannot help you, but I can tell you who can help you. So that man addressed Kisa Gotami to Gautam Buddha. He gave the reference of Gautam Buddha and he said that if you will go to Gautam Buddha, he will solve your problem. He can cure your boy. So when that man told that only Gautam Buddha can cure your boy, she quickly went to Gautam Buddha and asked for his help. Now from here our second part starts. She asked for the help. Now what answer she will get, that we are going to see in this second part. Let us begin. The Buddha answered, I want a handful of mustard seed to cure your baby, your child. What he wanted? Just a handful of mustard seeds. But there was a condition. And when the girl in her joy promised to procure it, she said that yes, I can procure it. I can get a handful of mustard seed. It is easy, and if you can cure my child with a handful mustard seeds, I will bring it just now. She promised that just now I am going to bring it. But then Buddha added, the mustard seeds must be taken from a house where no one has lost a child, husband, parent or friend. From that kind of family you have to bring the handful of mustard seed. In that family, no one of their belongings should have died. Not any child, not their husband, not any parent or any friend. No one should have died. From that family you have to bring handful of mustard. Now Kisa Gautami went house to house and the people pitied her. They saw pity, they saw mercy on her and said, "Here is mustard seed, take it." But when she asked, "Did a son or daughter, a father or mother die in your family?" they answered, "Alas, the living are few. There are so many people who have died in our family. The living are very few and they will also die very soon. Because everyone will die in this world. But the dead are many." Now Kisa Gautami wanted a house where no one should have died. But the people said that many of our relatives have died and the livings are very few in this family. So she could not find any family where no one would have died. So she could not take the mustard seed, only handful of mustard seed. Do not remind us of our deepest grief. The people we have lost is the deepest grief of our life, and do not make us remember that incident that we lost our relatives, our belongings, whom we loved. So that is our deepest grief, that we have lost many relatives and the people who have remained alive are very few. And there was no house, but some beloved one had died in it. So Kisa Gautami wandered here and there, but she could not find any house where no one would have died. And finally, Kisa Gautami became weary and hopeless. She was tired, weary that means tired, and hopeless because she wandered at so many places. She went to so many houses, but she could not find any single house where no one would have died. So she became hopeless that no, I cannot get anywhere just a handful of mustard seed for my child, because in every house there are some people who have died. There is no house where no one would have died. So she lost the hope of getting handful of mustard from the family where no one would have died. After wandering here and there in search of handful of mustard seed, she got tired, but she could not get anything, and she sat down at the wayside watching the lights of the city. She sat down on the edge of the road and she was watching the lights in the city. At that time there were no lights, but the light of lamps or earthen lamp or lantern. As they flickered up and were extinguished again, at last the darkness of the night reigned everywhere. So she was watching that the light of earthen lamp, diyas, was once it was enlightened and then it get dim, again enlightened, again it get dim, and then finally it get extinguished. So she was watching that the lights were flickered up and then they were extinguished again. And finally, in night it was completely dark. Everywhere there was the rule of darkness. The reign of darkness was everywhere. And she considered the fate of man, of human being. Finally, she was thinking, watching those lights of earthen lamps and lantern. She was thinking something. What she was thinking? The fate, the luck of man, of human. What is written in the fate of human? That their lives flicker up, their life come, they survive, and then finally it extinguished again. And she thought to herself, how selfish am I in my grief? Death is common to all. Yet, in this valley of desolation, there is a path that leads him to immortality, who has surrendered all selfishness. So, she got realized that how selfish I was. Wherever I went, in every family, there was some belonging who had died, but they accepted the grief. Why couldn't I? I was selfish and I wanted my child to be alive again. Because even though I knew that he has died, but I could not accept it because I was selfish. I wanted him back. But it is the fact, the truth of this universe, of the fact of human, that the one who has got birth will die. And that has happened to everyone in this world. When they can accept it, why can't I? How can I be selfish? So she realized the truth of death, that death is common to all. But in this valley of desolation, there is a path, the only single way that leads him to immortality. Only one way there is to go to immortality, by which way you can be immortal. You won't die at all. What is the way? That if you surrender all your selfishness, if you surrender all your relation with this world, all your selfishness, all your needs in this world, if you surrender all the things which belongs to you in this world, only then you can be immortal. You will be free from this world. So she understood that this world is filled with different kind of sorrow, sadness, pain and trouble. But the only way by which you can overcome these things is to leave all the selfishness and be immortal. To do sacrifice everything, whatever you have, whatever your desires are, whatever your belongings are, sacrifice all them, leave all selfishness, leave all attachments, and then only you will be free. You will be attached only with the God, and that is the only way to be immortal. Otherwise, always you have to face this pain. So the Buddha said, the life of mortals in this world is troubled and brief and combined with pain. That he says that this life is mortal. It will come to an end. That is sure. And in this world, this end is troubled and brief and combined with pain. It gives us lots of trouble and pain. We get hurt by someone's death, but it is certain, it is sure that the one who has got birth will come to an end, will meet death. That death is very painful, but we have to survive it. For there is not any means by which those that have been born can avoid dying. There is no way by which you can avoid dying. It is for sure you have to die. Even the Hiranyakashipu had asked many boons, many kind of boons from the God, but still he had to die. So there is no way by which you can be immortal. You will have to die if you have got birth. You cannot avoid dying. After reaching old age, there is death. Either when you will get old, after that you will die, or you will die because of any kind of disease or any kind of accident. But you will die for sure. Of such a nature are living beings. This is the nature of living beings. That if they have got birth, that means they will die. No one can be immortal. As ripe fruits, here the example is given not only human, but it is applied to every living being. Here the example is given of fruit. Plants are also living being. So just like as ripe fruits are early in danger of falling. Once they get ripe, after that very soon they will fall down. So they also have the danger of falling down. They also have the threat of falling down to leave that tree. As all earthen vessels, the vessels which are made up of clay, by the potter end in being broken, every earthen pot will break down because it is made up of clay, because it is made up of soil. Both young and adult, both those who are fools and those who are wise, all fall into the power of death. No one can stand in front of the power of death. Everyone will have to lose their arms. All are subject to death. Everyone will die. It is for sure. However you are fool or you are wise, you are rich or you are poor, if you are young or you are old, in every kind of situation, you cannot be immortal. It is certain that you will die. You cannot overcome the death by anything. There is no means to overcome the death. However you are, it is certain that you will meet death. So don't be proud or don't be sad of whatever you are. He gave two examples that the fruit of tree, if it is ripened, that means very soon it will fall. That is the nature. And just like the fruit, when we get mature, when our age is mature, then it is certain that we will die. Just like the pots which are made of clay or soil, made up of clay or soil, made by potter, it is certain that they will break because they are made up of soil or clay. So when these things can't be immortal, how can the human body? So it is certain that everything made up in this world will come to an end. Their age can be varied. Someone can die early or someone can die late, but it is sure that they will die. ऐसा कहा जाता है कि हमारी बॉडी भी पंच तत्वों से बनी है और फाइनली जब हमारी डेथ हो जाती है तो हमारी बॉडी इसी पंच तत्वों में मिल जाती है. We are made up from this soil and we will die in this soil. So when the things made up of soil can't last long, how can this human body? So it is certain that everyone who has got born, who has got birth, will die for certain. No one can overcome the death. Of those who overcome by death, depart from life, a father cannot save his son, nor kinsmen their relations. Mark while relatives are looking on and lamenting deeply. One by one, mortals are carried off, like an ox that is laid to the slaughter. So the world is afflicted with death and decay. Therefore, the wise do not grieve, knowing the terms of the world. Only the one who does not feel grief by the terms of this world, by the norms of this world, who do not feel the grief, that is the only wise person. जो इस दुनिया के टर्म्स, कंडीशंस, रूल्स को जानता है और इन सब obvious conditions से affected नहीं होता, that is the only wise person. Kinsman, that is a man who is one of a person's blood relation. Lamenting, that means express regret or disappointment about something. They feel sad or sorrow. They feel disappointed and regret. Slaughter, that means killing of animal for food. Afflicted, that means affect adversely. Now, Buddha says that of those who overcome by death, depart from life, a father cannot save his son. That no one is there in this world who can be alive forever. That it is sure that they will have to depart from life and they will go to death. They will die for certain. A father cannot save his son if he is dying, nor the blood relatives can save their relations. So those people who are your belonging can't save you from death. It is sure that you will die and no one can save you from the hand of death. Mark, note it, what? While relatives are looking on and lamenting deeply when they are crying, when they are feeling sorrow, when they are expressing their regret or disappointment greatly, deeply, one by one, mortals are carried off. They will cry when mortals will be carried off. Like an ox that is laid to the slaughter. Just like the ox is laid to the slaughter and there it will come to an end, same way. The people around you, your relatives, will cry when you will be taken by the young or you will be taken by the death. So the world is afflicted with death and decay. They feel bad with death and decay. When we get decomposed from this world, we get vanished from this world. They will feel sad. Therefore, wise do not grieve, knowing the terms of the world. So that is the truth of this world. That is the rule of this world. That no one can save us. So there is no meaning of crying or feeling sad. It is obvious and it will be. So only the person who does not feel grief by losing something is the only wise person. Who does not get affected by these terms of the world. And finally he says that not from weeping nor from grieving will anyone obtain peace of mind. The cry, the pain won't give you any satisfaction or peace of mind. On the contrary, his pain will be the greater and his body will suffer. The more you will feel pain, the more you will suffer. So this grief, this pain, this weeping, crying won't give you any kind of peace. But instead of that, it will suffer you a lot. And your body will suffer, your mind will suffer with that. So if you lose anything, that gives you pain. So don't cry, because crying will give you more pain. The only thing that gives you peace is he will make himself sick and pale, yet the dead are not saved by the lamentation. He who seeks peace should draw out the arrow of lamentation and complaint and grief. If you want the peace, you should leave the lamentation, complaint and grief of your life. He who has drawn out, who has sacrificed, who has left all these emotions and has become composed, calm, satisfied, will obtain peace of mind. If you do not get affected by sorrow or joy, then only you can get the peace of mind. He who has overcome all sorrow will become free from sorrow and be blessed. Those who are not affected by sorrow and those who have overcome this sorrow, do not get affected by this pain, this struggle of life, can only survive and can only be free from this sorrow and be blessed. They only get the peace, the real happiness of this world. The only thing which belongs to us is God, nothing else in this world. Everything is mortal and it is obvious that we will lose everything. So, if we feel grief by losing them, that is obvious thing, it will happen, we know that. So, if you accept it and if you are satisfied with it, if you feel content, then only you can be free and you will get peace of mind if you are not affected by sorrow. So finally he says that if you will cry, weep, or if you feel grief for anything, that won't give you peace of mind. If anyone who belongs to you have died and after their death if you will cry, that will not give any kind of happiness or will give any kind of peace of mind to anyone. This pain will be greater. Instead of that, on the contrary, what will happen? This pain, this grief will give you more suffering. You will suffer you will suffer physically also and mentally also. This will make you sick and bad. You will get tired, you will get sick because of this pain, because of this sorrow or grief. Yet the dead are not saved by his lamentation. How much you cry won't save the dead people. The crying, the grief, the pain cannot save the dead people. Nothing can be changed by the grief or the pain. Only the things will get worse. So no one, if you don't want this sorrow, if you don't want things to get worse, so you do not have to cry. You do not have to feel this grief because this thing will worse your situations. Nothing will be good by this. The dead people can't come back by your lamentation, by your disappointment, by your grief. He who seeks peace, if you want the real happiness, if you want the real peace of mind, you should draw out, you should leave all the arrow of lamentation, all the sources of grief or pain that gives you trouble, that gives you pain. Leave those things. Leave all the complaints. Do not complain with anyone and do not feel grief. Do not get attached with anything because attachment will give you pain. Everything is just mortal. It does not belong with us. It won't last with us forever. Nothing is ours. So why do you feel attachment with anything? Leave all those attachments, leave all those complaints, grief and lamentation. Only then he who has drawn out the arrow and has become composed, calm, content, satisfied will obtain peace of mind. Those who have left all the attachments to this world can only be satisfied and can only get peace of mind. He who has overcome all sorrow, who is not affected by sorrow, can only become free from sorrow and can only be blessed by God, will meet the God and will be immortal, will get peace of mind forever. So the only way of being immortal or of getting peace of mind is that leave all the sorrow, leave all the attachments, leave all the complaints, grief here you have in this world. And then only when you will leave all the attachments, when you will leave all the sorrow, grief, pain, then only if you are not affected by this trouble, by this pain, by the sorrow of the world, then only you can get the peace of mind and you will be free from this world and you will be immortal and you will be blessed by the God. So this was the preaching of Gautam Buddha, the first sermon he gave to Kisa Gotami. So here the lesson and the explanation of this chapter has completed. I hope that now you are able to understand this chapter more clearly and the explanation will be useful for you, and I hope that you enjoy this video. With this we come to an end of this video. Now we will meet in the next video with new chapter. Till then, take care of yourself, be safe and keep on learning. Thanks for being with me. See you.